gender socialization happens by individuals with the help of observation. When a child is observing how the parents are communicating in the family, how the decision making process is happening in the family, how the household activities are being shared in the family. Likewise, the child will be learning by observation, by social modeling, by imitating the activities that their parents does. If it's a boy child, the boy will imitate the activities or works that have been done by father, and if it's a girl child, the girl child will try to copy, will try to imitate the activities done by the mother. The mother is the family. So far as community environment is concerned, community environment is where the child grows, and here it includes the peer groups, college environment, and the neighborhood, which extends the socialization process by social conformism and the vicious circle. So when we say social conformism, even though we might have broken the gender concepts, but then in order to be accepted in the society, because let us assume we say that boys are not supposed to express their feelings, especially in terms of crying in the public, because when you cry, our own team or our own group will say that this is a feminine characteristic and you're not supposed to do that, you look like a feminine. So in order to be acceptable, in order to be accepted in our community, as per the social conformism, people are sticking on to the stereotypes, even though they would have got different family environment. And vicious circle is we learn about gender activities from the society. The society constructs these norms. Families will try to follow, will teach it to their children, and the child, by internalizing these norms, they will again follow this, and they will also share this to the next generation. That is what the vicious circle is about. The research problem: despite global and national efforts that have been taken towards gender equality, traditional gender socialization patterns and stereotypes tries to persist and reinforce the shapes and lives of college students. Early researchers suggest that stereotypes are not innate, but they are the imprints, which means it is not something that we are born with, but it is something that has been created by our society. So previous research also indicates that paternal gender socialization and domestic division of labors also creates cognitive schemas, which means cognitive mental images, which will make the individuals to align their biological differences along with socially constructed gender. So these stereotypes result in visible barriers, especially when it comes to the college students. For an example, while choosing the discipline, while choosing the educations, maximum the boys have been allowed to take STEM courses, which is science, technology, engineering and mathematics, whereas females have been made to choose some careers that are more nurturing, example teaching, nursing and all, wherein the educational attainment or choosing of career courses also matters here. So when these kind of problems arises between college students, there is a functional lag. That means they would have, say for example, they would have learned about gender equality in their home, but the macro level community, that is their community or their ecosystem, will talk about reinforcing traditional gender stereotypes. So the students are getting confused about what they are supposed to follow. Do they have to follow the social conformism? Do they have to follow the stereotypes just because they want to be accepted in their own peer group or in their community? Or do they have to follow the wider egalitarian values that are being said right in their family and in their modern college life? So these are the few review of literatures which talks about the family and community as a unified system, which is teaching and reinforcing traditional gender perspectives as well. So the gap of the research is the existing sources and research in connection with gender socialization and stereotypes. They focus more on the parents' gender behavior and the influence of media in gender socialization. The literature has not been sufficiently theorized on the conflict between individual cognitive development as well as the society's pressure on following the gender socialization by college students. The objectives of my study include to analyze the influence of family environment on gender socialization and formation of gender stereotypes among college students, to evaluate the role of community environment in reinforcing gender stereotypes, to assess the socialization of gender stereotypes among college students, to explore the structural strain between traditional gender socialization and the egalitarian values of contemporary collegiate life. So structural strain is what the functional lab we have been talking about. The conceptual and operational definitions for the variables here. Conceptual definitions given by A.S.K defines family environment as a socially constructed space where gender perspectives are internalized with the help of socialization and also with the help of sexual division of labor. So it's the very primary place where people will learn to do gender. So as we have discussed just a couple of seconds before that family is a very primary unit wherein an individual will learn what is supposed to be acting as a male or a female or being a masculine or a feminine here. The operational definition for family environment and gender perspective encompasses physical, social and emotional context with which an individual is being raised. It includes the parents' attitudes, their behavior, their communication patterns, their family dynamics, example the decision making process and the breadwinners and being the nurturing role. So family dynamics also influence an individual socialization of gender. Community environment and gender perspective refers to the social and physical context in which an individual lives. It includes the neighborhood norms, it includes the peer groups, it includes the college environment and the social expectations that shape an individual socialization of gender. So gender socialization is a lifelong process in which an individual learn and internalize the attitudes, behaviors, roles and values that are associated to their gender, be it male or female. How are these values or how do children learn or students learn about the attitudes, behaviors and values based on their gender? It involves the social, cultural, interpersonal influences in which an individual understand what is gender and how do they place themselves in the society. Gender stereotype is a generalized view or a preconceived notion about the attributes or characteristics of individuals based on their gender. It is like saying that women have to go for, women has to take care of, for an example of gender stereotype, women has to take care of the family, whereas the male or the father has to go be the breadwinner in the family. So this is an example for gender stereotype. So the hypothesis of my study is a family environment has a positive effect on gender socialization. Community environment has a negative effect on gender socialization. Gender socialization has a negative effect on gender stereotypes. Family environment has negative effect on gender stereotypes. Community environment has positive effect on gender stereotypes. Paternal education attainment has a positive effect on the gender perspectives maintained within the family environment. Male respondents exhibit higher level of gender stereotypes compared to female respondents. So the methods and procedures followed in this research is explanatory research design has been followed. The population include college students in Madurai and Coimbatore. Sampling method is multi-stage sampling. So where at different stages the sampling has been worked on. In the first stage, the colleges in Madurai and Coimbatore has been started using stratified random sampling, has been stratified into the type of college, namely government aided and private college. And then using that stratifications, the colleges were chosen using simple random sampling. And in the second stage, the college students have been chosen based on the disproportionate stratified random sampling. So the sample size have been calculated using sample size calculation and the sample size is 410. The tools for data collection includes family environment or gender perspectives, community environment on gender perspectives, gender socialization and gender stereotype. So the research instruments or the tools that we have that the study has included. For these two tools, family environment and gender perspectives and community environment and gender perspectives, earlier researchers have identified and they have measured family environment based on cohesiveness, their interactions. But then since this research talks about family environment on gender perspectives, the researcher has developed the itemized questionnaire in which for family environment 15 items were there, community environment 10 items were there. So the content validity for these two scales are being found out with the help of evaluation by a panel of five 5 experts. So each item was assessed for relevance using 4-point scale. So these procedures have been followed as per the procedures followed proposed by Yusuf 2019. So we have calculated the item level content validity index, and this is the scale level content validity index average score, and both universal agreement as well as the average score were computed. So the ICVI values ranges from 0.80 to 1, indicating that it's an acceptable item relevance, and the overall scale average is also 0.96, reflecting high content validity for these instruments. So on community environment or gender perspectives, there was one question wherein the question was not relevant to in Indian context. So based on the experts' comments, the question was again rephased and then put in for the data collection. So the rest of the scales, gender socialization and stereotype, are being well established scales with the validity score of 0.81 and 0.85 respectively. So the theoretical contributions for my study is structural functionalism theory, which talks about structural functionalism, and ecological systems theory talks about how if you want to know about an individual, you have to look into the individual's individual perspective as well as his community, his macro environment. Social learning theory is also has been contributed for my research, which talks about how gender perspectives have been transmitted by observation, imitation, and by reinforcement in social settings. Gender schema is a cognitive images that individuals use in order to process with their understanding about gender. Social role theory explains about the structural labor divisions that happens and that contributes towards gender stereotypes and behavioral expectations. This is my conceptual map which talks about aligns with the theories that I have spoken about. So considering my data collections and the findings of my study, the socio-demographic details, so far as the gender distribution is concerned, almost females were 50% for my research, and majority of the students studied in government aided colleges, and they were from science stream, and they belong to Hindu religion of backward class community, and they hail from urban areas. Mostly these students stayed along with their parents, and the family structure for these respondents were nuclear families. So the father's education and the mother's education ranged between 6 to 12 standards of education. Most fathers were daily wage earners. Majority of the mothers were unemployed. So most families' income ranged from 10 to 20,000. Majority of the respondents were of 19-year-old, and they were also firstborn children, formed the largest group. Whereas regarding the male and female siblings, most of them had one or no male siblings. Over half of them had no female siblings. So based on the mean scores for the family environment and community environment, this figure talks about the levels of gender variables, that is family environment on gender stereotypes, community environment on gender perspective, gender socialization and gender stereotype. So in this family environment and community environment on gender perspective has been divided based on the mean scores. Since this items are being these variables have been measured based on the itemized questions. So based on the mean scores, it projects that majority of the respondents fall in the moderate level, which means our Indian family systems or the community, neither they fall in the very low level of family environment or they don't fall in the extreme level of family environment, which talks about gender. Gender socialization and stereotypes, based on the author's definitions, the levels also falls in between moderate level. The findings based on the sex differences, no significant difference are being found. Females reported significant higher levels of gender socialization than males. Males reported higher level of gender stereotypes than females, representing the students from arts background. And art students reported significantly higher levels of community environment that talks about gender perspectives. Science students showed higher levels of gender socialization. Art students showed higher levels of gender stereotypes. So the major findings to continue, so far as the native urban or rural areas are concerned, there was no significant difference found across all the 4 variables, which is family environment, community environment, gender socialization and gender stereotypes. Respondents from nuclear families reported a higher level of gender socialization. Significant differences were also found between nuclear family and joint family based on the community environments. A difference was noted with nuclear families scoring higher of their family environment on gender perspectives. Significant difference were identified in family environment, gender socialization and gender stereotypes based on the type of college, wherein community environment did not show any significant variation. So religion demonstrated a significant difference across family, community, gender socialization, including gender stereotypes as well. So this indicates a strong influence on the study and its concepts. So no statistically significant difference were observed across all the variables based on the community, like the caste that we are talking about. And significant difference were identified in family environment based on their place of stay, where no statistically significant difference on the community environment, on gender socialization and gender stereotypes. So father's education significantly influenced family environment and gender stereotype, whereas community environment and socialization, gender socialization remains statistically non-significant. Mother's education demonstrated significant difference in family environment and gender stereotype, whereas no significant differences were found in community and gender socialization here. Based on the father's occupation, significant differences were found across all the 4 variables, namely family, community, gender socialization and gender stereotype. Based on the mother's occupation, significant differences were observed in gender socialization and gender stereotype. Significant differences were found in family environment, gender socialization and stereotypes based on family income. Based on the birth order, there were no significant differences were observed. Based on the number of male and female siblings, for male siblings, there were no significant differences observed on all the variables mentioned, and significant differences were observed for the female siblings. They observed in family environment, community environment and gender socialization. And regarding their age is concerned, significant differences were found in gender socialization and gender stereotypes based on their age. No significant differences were observed between Madurai and Coimbatore across all 4 variables, indicating that the place of study does not influence gender related variables. Since Madurai and Coimbatore fall in tier 2 cities of Tamil Nadu, there were no significant differences were observed here as well. So this particular slide talks about the direct effects on gender stereotypes. Here we can see direct effects of gender socialization, family environment in relation to gender perspective, community environment on gender perspectives. So gender socialization is concerned, it has significant negative effect towards gender stereotypes, which means when the families are having progressive gender socialization, when they talk about egalitarian social values, the stereotypes will be reduced here. So family environment has got negative significant effect on gender stereotypes, because family environment has also got higher gender socialization here. Community environment has got non-significant value, wherein this doesn't have effect on gender stereotype, direct effect on gender stereotypes. So gender socialization shows a significant negative relationship on gender stereotype. Family environment on gender perspective shows a significant negative effect on gender stereotype. Community environment shows significant positive effect on gender stereotypes. So overall this model explains about 51.9% of variance. That means gender stereotypes can be explained by gender socialization, family environment on gender perspectives and community environment on gender perspectives. So the effect size is concerned for the variables, gender, so all the 4 variables, R square included, which means including all the 4 variables, how far the model determines the variance, and when R² excluded is when one variable has been removed from the model. How is it influencing the effect size? So when gender socialization has been removed from stereotypes, the effect value is 0.23, which is a small effect, and the family environment, when it is removed from the overall model, creates 0.27 effect size, which is again a small effect. Community environment, as on gender community environment, when it is removed, it also shows effect value of 0.13, which is again a small effect. So this model talks about the structural model having the mediation of gender socialization. So here, when we see family environment on gender socialization as a mediating variable, has got significant positive mediation here. Family environment, community environment in relation to gender perspective has got a significant negative mediation, and community gender socialization has got significant gender socialization has got
the next slide.
So hypothesis as from the direct effect with mediators, the hypothesis supported were from my hypothesis 1 to 4 have been supported, which talks about family environment having a positive effect on gender socialization has been supported. Community environment having negative gender socialization is also supported. Gender socialization having a negative effect on gender stereotype is being supported. Family environment on affecting negatively for gender stereotypes were also supported. Community environment is also having a non-significant values on gender stereotypes. So the family environment has got significant partial mediation, which means it has got a direct effect to gender stereotype, as well as direct effect to gender socialization and indirect effect to gender stereotype. And community environment is concerned, it has got full mediation, which means only with the help of gender socialization the community can influence gender stereotype. It doesn't have a direct effect on gender stereotypes here. So the multi-group analysis talks about how this model explains variance in gender socialization based on genders. So here gender socialization stereotypes based on genders based among the male respondents compared to female respondents. Here we can see that this explains gender socialization of male having 70.4% and gender stereotypes for male 71.7%, which is higher than the female respondents here. So this model explains how the this model works out for male and female. So this model primarily works for male so much rather than females. So multi-group analysis considering the gender comparison. So community and gender socialization, community and gender stereotypes have got significant results, whereas family towards gender socialization has got non-significant result. Family and gender socialization on gender stereotypes have got significant results as well. So the postdoc findings talks about, so far as gender socialization is concerned, private college students report higher level of gender socialization. That means they have progressive gender socialization. They talk about gender equality. They talk about egalitarian values. So far as the gender stereotypes are concerned, private college students have lower stereotypes because they are being exposed to different programs, awareness programs on gender sensitization programs are being followed there. Family environment on gender perspectives, fathers educated at postgraduate level and above reported higher family environment, which talks about healthier gender socialization. And fathers educated at postgraduate level and above, they also reported lower gender stereotypes. So mothers educated up to undergraduate level reports a higher family environment on gender perspectives. Mothers educated below 5th standard reported higher gender stereotypes. Fathers employed in government or private sectors reported better family environment than fathers employed in government and private sectors reported higher community environment as well. So gender socialization based on reported higher gender stereotypes than females. Government aided college students reported higher gender stereotypes based on type of college. And higher levels of further education. This is gender stereotype. This is uncover result wherein gender stereotype as a dependent variable when we and gender socialization as a covariate here. So on this findings also it has been suggested that males report higher gender stereotypes and government aided college students report higher gender stereotypes, and higher levels of father education reports lower gender stereotypes. Higher levels of mother education reports lower genders. That means by controlling gender socialization also these variables are also affecting gender stereotype. And the lower socioeconomic occupational status of fathers found to have higher gender stereotypes. Lower socioeconomic occupational status of mothers have higher stereotypes. And higher family income has been identified as having lower gender stereotypes so far as family income is concerned. Younger participants, that is the age below 19 years, report higher stereotypes than older participants. This analysis talks about gender stereotype as dependent variable having family environment as a covariate. So government college students report higher gender stereotypes, males have higher gender stereotypes. So arts stream students have highest gender stereotypes. So students of age 18 and below reports higher gender stereotypes, and higher family incomes report lower gender stereotypes. Higher education of father found with lower gender stereotypes. Higher levels of mother's education identified with lower gender stereotypes. Lower socioeconomic occupational status of fathers is fathers who is high, having higher gender stereotypes. Lower socioeconomic occupation status of mothers have higher gender stereotypes. So both lower economic status of lower occupational status of father and mothers also influence higher gender stereotypes. This analysis talks about gender stereotype as a dependent variable, keeping community environment as a covariate. Here, males also reports higher gender stereotypes. Government college students report higher gender stereotypes. Students from arts stream reports higher gender stereotypes. Differences in gender stereotypes across caste groups are weak. That means there is no difference have been found based on the caste or community. Joint families report higher gender stereotypes than the nuclear families. Respondents of 18 years and below report higher gender stereotypes than respondents of 19 years and above age. Lower income families report higher gender stereotypes than higher income families. Lower income families is below 10,000 rupees. So higher levels of mother education found to have lower gender stereotypes, like mother if they are educated for above UG degree level, they have lower gender stereotypes. Higher levels of father's education have lower gender stereotypes. That means fathers if they are educated of PG and above, they have lower gender stereotypes. Lower economic, socio-economic occupational status of fathers found higher gender stereotypes. Lower socio-economic occupational status of mothers also have higher gender stereotypes. And the Manova key findings, which talks about the multivariate effect, significant multivariate effects on family environment on all the four variables. So this analysis talks about the socio-demographic variables, how they are showing multivariate effects on the four important variables: family environment on gender perspective, community environment, gender socialization and gender stereotype. Here the key important variable is a type of college, which shows a significant multivariate effect of Pillai's trace of 0.100, p-value of less than 0.001, and effect size of partial eta square value of 0.050. This also influences family environment, gender socialization and stereotype. So far this multivariate and Manova is concerned, community environment has no such effect have been observed on community environment. And group differences are concerned, private colleges have higher family environment, they have higher gender socialization, they have higher progressive gender socialization and lower gender stereotypes. Government colleges have higher gender stereotypes, and other significant factors include the stream of study. Art students reported higher gender stereotypes than science students, and the type of family is concerned, it has got small but significant effect on gender stereotype here as well. Socio-economic factors, also influence these four variables, like the education of parents, occupation of parents, income level, family's income level also influences family environment, community environment, gender socialization and gender stereotypes. No significant factors on place, native place and community shows no multivariate effect on this on the above said four important variables. The Mantowa key findings include significant multivariate effects after controlling family and community environment. Here, type of college remains significant but with reduced effect size. Overall, this result supported multi-layer ecological model of gender socialization, wherein a family acts as a primary agent and the community acts as a reinforcing agent, wherein it reinforces the traditional gender stereotypes. And educational institutions are the potential sites where these transformations are happening. So gender stream and the socio-economic status factors also have an additional influence. So the suggestions based on my research at the institutional level, we can implement, it has been suggested that the institutions can implement mandatory gender sensitization programs. Right now we also have gender sensitization programs in papers, but then it is not sure whether it is being made mandatory or it has been just made as a fluid one. So we have, it is suggested that the government institutions can replicate the best practices from private colleges, since the private college students have got reduced lower gender stereotypes. Promoting interactive learning wherein workshops, peer discussions, case studies which promotes gender socialization, that to progressive gender socialization can be incorporated. Establishing gender equity labs or gender equity clubs or forums, equity labs can be an also important one. Family level interventions can be suggested to conduct parent awareness programs on gender equal socialization, since the parent variables like education of parents and occupation of parents are also influencing gender socialization. From the studies finding, it has been suggested to conduct parent awareness programs possibly with the help of the communities, with the help of the self-help organizations or different NGOs also can conduct awareness programs. Encourage educated parenting practices where they can also talk about egalitarian values, they talk about equality, they talk about equal opportunities, equality of household and other activities. Egalitarian values can be educated. Strengthen family institution collaboration. So here, based on the findings, curriculum and academic exposure suggestions include integrating gender inclusive content across subjects, focusing more on art stream students since they have got higher stereotypes have been observed based on the findings. Promoting critical thinking and social awareness modules in the curriculum which talks about gender. So before last, 1.5 years back, there was based on the curriculum and academic exposure. In Kerala, they have released a textbook on EVS and for primary school children. In that, they have shown pictures of fathers helping in the kitchen and talking about progressive gender socialization. That was also an important suggestion that can be put in for this population, because when we normalize say for example, that was just a picture which talks about father helping the mother in the kitchen. So by seeing this, the child can normalize that father can also help in the kitchen for the mother. Okay, so curriculum based critical thinking and social awareness modules on gender can be included. And since we have got based on the findings, the students who are of younger age, that means below 18 years, they have got higher stereotypes. So early intervention can be done by introducing gender education at school level, introducing activity-based and value-based learning on gender, addressing stereotypes at the younger ages, like saying pink is for girls and blue is for boys. So addressing these small stereotypes at the younger ages can also help in removing, can also help in having a flexible learning about gender. So based on the findings, the theoretical implications include on gender social socialization is an ongoing one. So, based on the gender socialization theories, it says that gender socialization happens only in the childhood rather than this socialization is more flexible and it's a continuous one. So, right from their childhood as well as in the adolescence during their college time, also the students are learning about gender. It is a continuous one and it is also a revisable one. It is not fixed in childhood. And operationalizes structural strain, which in the beginning of my presentation I was talking about the functional lag. So this talks about how the conflicts, how the kind of problems that a college student has when they have a confusion of whether they have to follow or they have to go for social conformism or do they have to follow the socialization that they get in their family. So that is what the functional lag that has been explained in the structural strain and specific cross-level interactions ecological model. So this validates ecological systems theory by showing how family as well as community along with the college can jointly shape their gender stereotypes. We know that family is the basic primary unit, community is something that reinforces these stereotypes, college is something which makes stability in transforming these stereotypes. Social learning is a selective internalization wherein people can filter, an individual can filter, negotiate and learn about gender norms based on new context. This talks about learn, unlearn and relearn aspects. Positions family and community acts as a primary agent where community acts as a reinforcing or regulatory system wherein family will talk about gender, community is something which shows us the imprint or which reinforces these systems or these stereotypes. Environmental imprints as one important concept which needs has an enduring effect on the cognitive filters that people are having. And so far as social work implications, being a social work candidate, social work implications based on our 6 methods of social work, casework, group work, community organization, social action and social welfare administration, social work research. In casework, we can, using individual counseling, the concepts of learn, unlearn and relearn approach can help students to identify, challenge and also transform their gender stereotypes. So far, the second group work is concerned, gender sensitization groups, which also encourages discussions on gender's role plays. Peer learning can promote unlearning of gender stereotypes. Community organization implement parent and community awareness programs so that they can talk about progressive gender socialization. Social action is concerned, gender inclusive policies and institution reforms. We do have inclusive policies and institutional reforms as well, but then it is more important to also talk about the family and community imprints. How is it influencing? So likewise, we have to develop models that talks about family and community. Welfare administration, implementing institution-based programs to strengthen gender-based, gender-sensitive environments. Social work research promotes evidence-based interventions and evaluate the effectiveness of programs based on learn, unlearn and relearn process as well. So to finally conclude, gender stereotypes are shaped by combination of educational, familial, social, economic and institutional factors. This is what we have found out from the analysis that we have done. The findings also indicate that private institutions tends to promote more progressive attitudes by lowering with lower levels of gender stereotypes. Parents' education and socio-economic status also plays an important role in reducing gender stereotypes. Family environments, both direct and indirect influence. Community impact gender socialization only through mediating factors. Overall, achieving gender equality requires a continuous process of learning, unlearning and relearning to bring the lasting change. So these are all my qualifications.
Thank you, ma'am. The floor is open for your suggestions. scholars you can stop so that faculty is good.
எஃபெக்ட் லைன் போட மாட்டேங்குது.
Yes, guys. Since no one is asking, I would like to start. I will see the impact of area, place, where impact are whether very significant or not significant. I will see that in many cases. As far as I observed, there were only 2 cases where places were spoken, and that is also important. Family in urban is different from family in rural. That I believe can be shown in multiple places.
Since the study focused on Tier 2 cities of Madurai and Coimbatore, majority of the respondents were from urban areas of Madurai and Coimbatore.
The very first page where I was in urban and rural, there was some numbers can be.
No, actually what sir is saying is you have shown the output in some places. So what sir is suggesting, even though it is not influencing significantly, you can show in all the places that it is not significant. You can go through that slide. In somewhere you mentioned that if it is significance you mention, I guess in other places you didn't mention.
Because it is much more.
So you can incorporate.
Do we really have respondents from rural? What is the percentage?
Rural place, the percentage is less than
That
the-
was mentioned in presentation. Can you show it? It was shown initially first.
Yes. Yes, the percentage of rural is 39. 39% of the overall.
39 is 40%. It is, it has a kind of, kind of 50. It cannot equal.
So even though it is not significant, you can show in all the places.
And the distribution, please. So you concentrated on Madurai and Coimbatore, correct, madam?
Yes, sir.
And your distribution source, have you covered all institutions in Madurai and Coimbatore? How it is?
The institutions, colleges are being stratified on 3 stratifications: government aided and private colleges. So both Madurai and Coimbatore altogether we have got 160 colleges based on these stratifications. So representing all these 3 stratas, the colleges were chosen.
Random.
Yes, randomly.
Why did you choose only 35? Why only 35% from private? Because Madurai and Coimbatore will have a lot more private institutions, right?
Yes, sir. Based on the stratification for private colleges, so we have chosen for private it was 3 colleges have been chosen?
Because in general, in naked eye, it is observed that private institutions are more in numbers compared to aided. The government makes sense because we don't have any government institution, pure government institution. That makes sense. Now this government aided is very okay, madam.
No,
You can
sir, could you please repeat the question because I was looking into the distribution, please.
Now, why there is only 7% of respondents from pure government colleges? Because government colleges are less.
That was also there, and also regarding the permission is concerned for government colleges, I wasn't, even though I got the information from regional joint directors and all, but I wasn't allowed to get inside the government colleges, which is why the representation is less, and also the number of government colleges in both Madurai and Coimbatore is less. So far as government college in Coimbatore is concerned, so 7 in Coimbatore and 3 in Madurai has been identified. So considering the less number of government colleges and also the feasibility, their representation is less.
Okay.
Go back to your slide number 2 or 3, where you have shown literature. And you people are coming for the presentation to the slide numbers. Go back. Look at your research problem or research gap. Majority of, except research, majority are 10-year-old or 15-year-old. So, do you mean to say that the recent past, this kind of work is not done? So, you can see here the thing, but what is the white paper kind of? It is not the research based, mostly. White paper is different, research based papers are different. So, it's a very difficult because what's happening to the research need to be given new research product. What is research gap? You can look at the research gap also. So when you look at the research gap, again, knowledge that very few research work are attempting to explore these family on gender socialization, gender stereotype. Most of your presentation later stage focus more on gender stereotype rather than gender socialization. Okay, so lot of issues, not issues that will be strengthened in your research problem. It is in a loose form. How you can convince the examiners the third response, literature has not sufficiently clear. How many pages you have gone through and then say, not sufficiently clearized the conflict between individual cognitive development and social skills. College student is immaterial. In general, how it is, clearization is taking place. That is not given clearly. Look at literature review. Literature review is a problem. So it is not just only giving few literature and talking about different key findings. It's not that way. So these are these only the literature talks about the community stereotype and gender socialization? What is that, say for example, some n number of articles talk about, n number of authors talk about community stereotype and gender socialization. Why only from literature? It's not a summary of one article, but a few or many n number of articles would have talked about peer group dynamics and gender type appearance and play. What are those articles? And what are the collective things which you drawn from those articles? Not picturized. That to be given to strengthen your research gap. It's not there. Okay, so what are the objectives? No, when I'm just relating your objectives with your findings, whatever you presented. Findings, you have used too many statistical tools for the same data and the same results only come. Say for example, initially you started with ANOVA. Okay, then you gone for MGA, multi-group analysis. Then ANCOVA, then MANOVA, then MANACOVA. Why the variance? Why the covariates and why the variants are used? What is the purpose?
The problem of gender inequality is
The gender is a group, and among the group, is there a difference or not? That's where the MANOVA or ANOVA comes. ANCOVA, MANCOVA is not at all covariate. So you have to seriously look into this kind of a thing. Because say grinding what is already grinded, but knowing, say, or unknowingly if you do, why this kind of, what is the objective of these tools? Covariate is different. Why and where we need to use a covariate based analysis? Why we need to use variance based? Say, you want to study the difference between two groups, correct? So it could be place or more than two groups. It could be a type of institutions, or it could be a type of the family background and a mother background or a father background. This is what you want to study. That means what? Is there a difference? Is there a difference? Or are there a difference among the groups? Difference only you wanted to study, right? Why covariates? Okay. So I'm not able to connect your objectives and findings. Right? So, for example, analyze the influence of family environment on gender socialization. Okay. What technique you used for studying your objective one?
we have used the mediation model of.
There is no mediation in the first objective. It is straightforward. Influence of family environment on gender socialization. What do you mean by family environment here? Is it a categorical variable or is it a continuous variable? Okay. Where you are evaluating the community in reinforcing gender stereotype, how are you evaluating? So even the words makes a difference. Are you evaluating or are you just studying the role of community development? What is that you are doing? Are you evaluating? If you evaluate, your study is a qualitative study. You are just studying or you are finding the effect of community environment role on gender stereotype. So again, say if you look at all those kind of tools, ANOVA, multi-group analysis, MANOVA, I'm not worried about MANCOVA and ANCOVA. Okay? So, where is the kind of objective you are bringing? What objective? Is that objective? Can you connect your objective with Manova? It's not there. It's not there. Say your entire, I don't understand what it is made contemporary collegiate life. Say here, no, you can good English, that's a different one. But are you studying that kind of a thing? What do you mean by contemporary collegiate life? Don't experiment with your English knowledge. It's backfire on you. What is meant by contemporary collegiate life? So, the point is very simple. When you bring your objective based findings, and then conclusion need to be there. And I am not able to connect, number one, your literature review, problem, gap, objectives, and a hypothesis. I am not able to connect. Okay, that is next slide, hypothesis. Where is the hypothesis for ANOVA, MANOVA, and all? What is the hypothesis? Say, normally in the social work, in marketing, or even in the HR, the gender-based findings are many. This type of product is, what is the female consumer behavior versus male consumer behavior on this particular product. Say, for example, lipstick or a hair oil or a facial cream. So that is gender-based findings, studies and findings are there. Okay, so no question about social work. Now, how it is happening in male? How it is happening in female? And because say you have given more emphasis on your the model, but you have forgotten the whole thing. So again, look at the hypotheses, the references, are the justification you are giving. All are old literature reviews, not the recent one.
Albert Bandura and
Bandura and all.
Theoretical, theory-based.
Bandura things and all, theory is fine. Okay, but are there studies which establish this kind of positive effect or a negative effect? No, it's old literatures. Now let me take one simple example. 2012, that is what you are mentioning for X5. 2002, you are mentioning for X4. 2099, X3. 15 for S2. 99, that's a theory or a Maccabee 1998. Where is the literature? The latest literature review supports your hypothesis. Where are they? What they are saying? Do you think that old studies which referred precisely supporting a negative effect on gender socialization by community environment? Right, before I move to all these family environment, community environment, gender socialization, the first order constraint and the second order constraint. What is this? There is no dimensions. I believe, or I recollect the presentation which you made in research forum. It is a second order constraint, not a first order constraint. Now, what is the first order constraint level analysis? Now, it's very difficult now For Indian examiners, just I used to tell the Jodo that so those people are not going depth, and then if you send it for foreign examiner, they will ask, is it a second order or first order? So if they are well versed with all these kind of Bandura theory or any other thing, they will question you. Second order concept, how you can bring the implications. Tough. Generically, that's what I saw. The implications which you brought are more of a generic, not study-based implication. Okay, hypothesis, revision, supporting with the latest literature review are more important, not the old one. Go to this.
Is there any limitation for number of hypotheses? We can make even 30, 40, but we should have a limitation. That's why we have limited the phrasing. Next page. No limitation. Up to 20, 30.
It varies.
In social work, yes.
It varies. So not necessarily it is social work. Even
Because some people they would like 50 to show that this is like a different one, but it is not necessary actually. So that's why we have included the important points. And we have shown in the data analysis part. So if you suggest, we can mail
it's
it.
not a question about suggestion, it is a question about the learning. Say the thing is here, if you put the hypothesis only in terms of 1 to 7, the limitations will be there. But if you say that, okay, what I want to do, I want to study the H1, A, B, C, D, all those things, go to the model. Your model. Next one. Yes. So H1, family environment, gender socialization. H1B, family environment, gender stereotype. H2A, family environment, gender socialization. H2B, and that way you can limit. Now, it's only number of hypotheses many, but numbers will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8, 9, 10. So that way
solutions we can create.
Absolutely, okay. So that's where you wrote the kind of a mediation analysis results, all those things. What my suggestion is, there's a partial mediation and a full mediation that is not given very clearly. Now why? Because you use only the second order constructs. But I recollect the family environment with sub-dimensions, community environment with sub-dimensions, other dimensions. The dimension level analysis, again, gender stereotype, second order construct. What are the dimensions of the gender stereotype? That is not given. So that's why your things are very general. And again, I made my point very clearly. Why ANOVA, why MGA, why ANCOVA, why MANOVA, why MANCOVA. Too many analysis if we do, if you are not able to justify, it's tough. It's a very tough. Okay? Suggestion, as I said, it's a more of a generic. That's why I noted down it's a kind of a, the second order answer you will not be able to give a picture. You will not be able to give a picture. You say that, I'll use a very simple analysis. Now I have a headache. You say headache. But the headache is problem in the internal organs. Which organ is creating this kind of problem? Okay? So that is what the first order concept is. So if you don't do this kind of a thing, how do you say that the implement mandatory gender sensitization program? Is it not happening?
But mandatory, it is not happening.
No, that's where the problem comes. When you talk about the government aided, government colleges, they don't care. They don't care. Because the government colleges are like that only. How many government colleges are going for a NAC and other accreditation purposes? They are not going. They don't care. But if you go for the private institutions, some of the programs are there. Say for example, UHP, it's a mandate. And they have to report certain programs. So they identify the NAC or NBA or UGC identify these programs, these are the mandatory. They have to, say for example, Women's Day. When I was like you people, there was no Women's Day, Man's Day on board. Now it's a Women's Day, every institutions are celebrating. Okay, so again, that's what I'm saying. It's all you have given more of a generic. Because your constraint level studies are in a loose form. How do you say generically gender equity clubs, gender equity forums? That's where family level intervention. For example, at our university we used to have PTAs. It's a mandate in some of the institutions, particularly the private institutions. Government institutions, they don't. But some of the private institutions, they don't. Out of my 25 years at VIT, we never had parent-teacher meeting. Never had. But here, for the last 3 years, several PTA conducted. So that's where the problem comes. Okay, so again, coming to this theoretical implications, did you really tested the theories?
Structural motionism and logical systems.
No. Which you have taken only one component or one constraint from that particular theory. Right, social learning theory. From social learning, which concept you have taken?
Cognitive schemas.
Where? Now you mentioned only those social family environment and this one. So where is this cognitive things are coming? Where it's from?
For socialization learning, these schemas will play an important
Where? Did you test? Did you test?
for using the socialization.
No, my question is listen. Did you test social schema?
Questions were there related to these.
Answer my question straight. Did you test it?
Yes, I did.
Where? Where is it said? Okay? And sooner you go to the other one. No, I'll go specifically. Theoretical implication. Now, all these are more of a generic structural strain. Okay? Say structural strain where and then how it was tested.
Structural strain talks about the lag between our family environment, that talks about progressive gender socialization, and when it comes to my community environment, be it my peer group, college environment, and my neighborhood, wherein here the kind of socialization is they have conversations related to gender stereotypes. Only when you reinforce that behavior, which is meant to be masculine or feminine, you will be made, we are made to accepted in the group. So these two variations create a lag between people wherein the students are finding it difficult whether they have to follow the progressive socialization that's happening in the family, or do they have to follow the enforcement that is happening in the community environment just because they want to be in the community. So questions related to
Explanation is agreed. Did you test it?
questions related to functions.
Questions are different. Did you test? Where did you test?
If you talk about that community environment, direct effect is not, direct knowledge is not.
Well, it is a second, again I'm saying second order construct. Where did you test? Did you test any one thing? That is where the problem comes. So without testing, you are saying I have these questions and told. No way, but did you test? Then you are saying, okay, reconceptualize. It's a big word. Okay, so, and again, that's a social work implication also. It's a more of a generic thing, what is given. It's there. Social work research are not doing this kind of thing.
Comparatively,
How do you say?
social workers.
How do you say? How many literature reviews are gone through? How many literatures? 500 or 1000 literature review? So that's where it's not just Namke was giving some implications and all. So that's only that last point I mentioned already. Connectivity I'm not able to find out. That's all. Your conclusion. Now, conclusion, what is the conclusion for the objective one? What is the conclusion for objective 2? What is the conclusion for objective 3? It's not there. The conclusion for this particular objective. Now, overall, finally you can say overall. Gender stereotypes show a combination of education, family, and social institutional factor. Do you have an institutional factor? What is the institutional factor here?
The college environment, college
Where?
institutions.
Where did you study that?
While studying community environment.
So community environment is the second order. But you brought here education, family, and socio-economic institutional factors. That's where the problem comes. Okay? Yes.
Any other suggestions? Sir, what about covariates?
I'm not a right
No, no. We want to control family and community, and we want to check the direct effect on stereotypes. That's why
The F5
we have done that.
F5
That purpose.
When you talk about the F5, other than the declaration, declaration, any type of declaration based, including same sentence. But F5 you cannot quantify with the other tools.
That's not that much effective. You want to say that these covariates, it's not much effective.
Why covariate? What is the purpose of covariate?
Because we want to control those
Common is
variables.
more common, so doing.
So what is your objective? What's your objective?
If we have that kind of objective, then we can do it.
Yes.
Is it okay, sir?
Yes. But what is the objective? Why? My fundamental question is, why do you want to use so many things? Say you want to find a difference, or you want to find a control the F5 curve. That's a control variable. You need to do something different. Even in same another thing, you can use a control variable. All those things are there. Fundamental question.
I use for article, but no need to bring in these ones.
I don't want to say anything. That is you are the best judge. Why? Rationale for using this particular thing is important. Rationale. I know the techniques, that's why I'm using it. People definitely catch you, and it's very difficult to answer at that point of time. So why I'm using this particular technique? What is the purpose? Objective clearly emphasize the need for using this particular tool. It's not there. Why not do how many samples? Madurai, how many samples? Out of 410.
Not five.
205.
205.
205. How come it can be 205, 205?
My minimum sample size requirement is 399. So on.
That's also true. I don't want to listen on this. Say that. Can you explain your multi-stage sampling and how do you use stratified random sampling?
So
How many colleges? How many?
multi-stage.
That's number one. I'll finish my question then. That's number one. Number two, why did you ignore engineering institutions? Where compared to arts and science colleges, but this kind of issues are more in engineering institutions. Say for example, drugs. The use of drugs in engineering institutions are more compared to arts and science.
In engineering colleges, we can expect diverse populations, wherein majority of them will be from science background or engineering. So far as my study is concerned about gender socialization and stereotype, stream is also an important one, which is why arts and science students have been selected for this study. Engineering will be more of science-based people and population will be diverse. The students from socio-economic background will also be there. So whereas when the research concentrates on science and arts groups, the population will include both.
It's very difficult to take your point. You are going for the issue based, not on the population, not on the background. Issue. What is the issue of taking?
But understanding about gender and having the socialization.
No need to tell. Okay, but the fundamental question will come. Why did you ignore?
You can just.
Why did you ignore? Then why Bala also asked why Coimbatore and why Madurai? So the number of institutions are more in Madurai. But I know Coimbatore number of institutions are more. And the number of institutions as per the arts and science less compared to the engineering institutions. In Coimbatore, very less number of arts and science colleges. So now, that's what stratified random sampling you say. How many institutions are there in Coimbatore?
The number of, based on stratification and
No, just tell me how many institutions are there.
In Coimbatore, around 92 institutions are there. In Madurai, around 68 institutions are there.
Okay. How did you use stratified random sampling?
So based on the type of college, the colleges were divided into government aided and private colleges.
Right.
So considering the representations since the number of colleges in government is less than aided and
Fine. How did you select the colleges?
colleges were selected using simple random sampling after stratification.
What is the process?
Lottery method without replacement.
So,
And then the students in the second part, they were selected based on disproportionate stratified sampling. So out of which 35 my samples.
final unit, the sampling unit, how did you select?
Based on disproportionate stratified sampling, the unit have been selected, out of which my sample size is 410. So when I divided for the 12 colleges, each college I have to select around 34 students. So 17 from arts and 17 from science students were chosen.
How did you pick that 17?
There again I have to follow some.
Do you have did you have the did you have the list of population?
List of population, when I went for the colleges, they have given based on the classes.
So they have given based on the classes. How did you choose the 17? Did you use any random sampling process?
Based on since I
Same
want
answer.
to be
Same answer. Did you use any random sampling process? For picking, say for example, XY sitting here. Did you use lottery method for pick X?
students.
Yes. Did you use? Answer is no.
No.
then you cannot, how do you say that the final selection is a random sampling? If you do that, it's fine. You have used stratified random sampling because you picked based on lottery method and all, so fine. But the final unit, you have not selected based on the random sample process. How do you say all level are used stratified random sampling? It's wrong. So write accordingly.
Thank you. So thank you all.